Hi everyone, how's everyone doing here today? I just wanted to say thank you for watching, and today I wanted to talk about, which I mentioned briefly, is fascism that's going on in our country and fighting back against it, which is essential for all of Americans. It's primarily focuses with what we've been seeing going on in Florida with Governor Ron DeSantis, who is proven to be as incompetent and as ineffective as a leader as can be. Probably in some ways worse than Donald Trump. Just to give you an idea, here's some of the recent headlines based on proposals and things that he's trying to push. Allowing concealed guns without permits. Yeah, because, more guns the better, right? Even with all the school shootings going on. Tax exemption for gas stoves. Because another cultural rumor that went around about gas stoves. Force high school athletes to disclose their menstrual history. I'm sure parents with their daughters would be proud to hear that. I don't even know what the logic is to that or why he's doing it, but could you imagine that? Being a girl in high school and having to, document your menstrual cycles and then report it? It's bad enough we're taking away their rights to choose for their own bodies. Now you want to, document and herd them like cattle? Come on. Rewrite history to reject African American studies because, it's not that Ron is a racist. He just doesn't care so much for black people in their history. So why not just erase it? Like most of the South, they're all happy about their Southern pride and their Confederate flags. God forbid we should ever talk about slavery. Hiding books to avoid felony charges. That's right. That book banning has become so bad that you can be criminally charged for it, which is absolutely ludicrous. If anything, around here, somebody that needs educating, that would be Ron DeSantis, because you hear him talk about history, of which he seems to know little or nothing about. He's the one that should be reading a history book, instead of banning them. And of course, the Don't Say Gay bill, which, for the most part, is just designed to unfairly target, the LGBTQ community. All of these things are pretty much pointless cultural issues. They do not help the people in any way. They are designed to attack certain minority groups that are routinely discriminated against. Things like people of color, like the LGBTQs and the transgenders. And, you hear it a lot of is rhetoric, stupid things about the woke mob and all that, which, as I talked about, that's nothing more than designed to be a dog whistle to gaslight people. And it's all based on lies, and we hear it also a lot from right-wing pundits, lowlifes like Candace Owens and Matt Walsh, and on Fox, all they want to do is spread their hate. And it's all based on lies, no education, no proof, just, talk about things like grooming, indoctrination, or, child genital mutilation. None of that goes on, which I've asked about in the past, and everybody said, give me some examples, something specific. And all I hear is crickets. Why? Because it is all a lie. None of it is true. All of this is pretty much a foundation of fascism. And if it doesn't concern you or scare you, it should, because it's not just in Florida it's going on. We're seeing it in other states. Maybe they're not doing it to the extreme as Ron DeSantis is, but look at Texas with some of the things that Greg Abbott does. As far as shipping off migrants, just to make a political statement, which Ron DeSantis has also done. These are acts of cruelty. They show their racism and their loathing for immigration. Same thing about, believing in election denialism, which now gives them right to pass laws that restrict voting. It is nothing more than a mask to hide their voter suppression. The less votes, the less people that vote, the better their chances are staying in control and staying in power. It is all a power grab. Same thing with all this other stuff. To give you an example, I would love somebody to name me something that Ron DeSantis has done, any type of bill he's passed that really helps the American people, along the lines of things like infrastructure, healthcare, living wages, their way of life. Has he ever done anything like that? None that I've seen or heard. But yet there are enough followers who are blindsided by their hate, or they too hate themselves, which makes them degenerates, because of their racism, because of their homophobia and their transphobia. The thing history shows about fascism is the big problem in the long run is that it affects everyone negatively sooner or later. You may look at the Don't Say Gay bill and be a resident in Florida and say, well, I'm straight, so why should I be concerned about something like that? Maybe you don't have any kids, so when you hear about books being banned, you might say, well, I don't have kids, that doesn't affect me. Or, with all the voter suppression going on and how it targets black communities or people of color, you might say, well, I'm white, so that doesn't affect me. Why should I be concerned about it? Because sooner or later, it's going to do something to affect your way of life. Just like the way voter suppression through lies of election denying, that claiming that voting is rigged, that is all designed to do away with democracy. Pretty soon we won't have elections anymore. We'll just keep the same people in charge. Pass the fascism on down the road. I believe in democracy, okay? I don't support fascism. And the one thing, like I said, all fascists have in common is they only do it for themselves. Ron DeSantis, do you ever hear that guy smile? He is the most miserable looking person I have ever seen. And yet all he wants to do is, again, just pass more bills to restrict it. Looking in history, leaders like Adolf Hitler, it was his fascism, with his hatred of the Jews. And how did that work out? Once they bombarded him and were closing in, he killed himself like the coward that he is. Ron DeSantis, same thing. Yeah, he feels all tough when he's dealing with the press, and trying to discriminate against them. But when doing a debate faced with superior candidates, he shuts down. Why? Because he is a coward. Because he is a person of hate. Because he is somebody who does not care about the people of Florida, let alone the rest of the country. And with him trying to make a run, probably in 2024 for President of the United States, if you're smart, if most of us are smart, which I believe the country is, we will vote against him and do everything we can to keep him as far away from the White House as possible. Because you can bet your bottom dollar, if he does make it into the White House, he's going to spread that hatred, that fascism to other states. Only this time he'll have the power of the presidency to do it with. Start doing banning on abortion across the board, no exceptions. Cruelty against women, he doesn't care. Do even more voter restrictions to make it easier for him to get reelected, And just like Trump, when he was a president, he had notions of thinking hey, why don't I just still be president? Who needs elections? Who needs democracy, right? And when you do lose the election, just lie, deny it, and get people to try and overturn the results in a hostile-like fashion. That is fascism. And Trump, who claims, even though he sounds less animated, in one of his recent speeches, he put out a lot of the same spiel which is going on. Only now he's talking about wokeism, and he suddenly has concerns about children, as far as the whole gender mutilation and transgender thing, something he knows absolutely nothing about. He's just regurgitating the same nonsense. Why? Because that hate appeals to his base, which even though they're dwindling, they're still there. Which is why we need to work together to keep both Trump and DeSantis out of office. Florida, you screwed up. You had the chance to vote out DeSantis, and you didn't. Same thing with Texas. People of Texas, I say this respectfully, but you all screwed up. You could have had Beto O'Rourke, who's a person who chooses to care about people and help people. Instead, you keep Greg Abbott in charge, and he's even proving to be even more of a disaster. Critical race theory in school, it is nonsensical. It is just a way to de-educate people, and do further things to cruelty to migrants. Trump and DeSantis claim to care about children and everything. Did you see how Trump was when they were putting in children in cages at the border? I see. So he cares about children, except for migrant children. This all falls under the disguise of fascism, and it is, still going on in this country. The best way to stand out to it is to vote against these people, to speak out against it. I know there have been some protests going on, and it hasn't been as effective as can be, but something DeSantis also believes, that diversity is not strength. It is strength. That's just him showing his racism as well. So when it comes time, in the primaries, do what you can to keep him from winning the primary. Same thing with Trump, Vote against him. Speak out against him. Let him know that we do not welcome fascism in this country, that we are still a democracy. When he starts talking about election lies, prove it. Say no. You lost. Maybe DeSantis and Abbott are still in power, but when you get the chance to vote them out, do what you gotta do. I know as far as the book banning, I've heard some professors have been trying to take legal action, which is good, because you don't want to ban books. You don't want to put teachers in a position who, in addition to being underpaid, now they got to worry about being arrested because, they're not complying with book banning. Seriously, this is something that can, in the long run, affect all of us down the road and reshape the nature of our country in a way that is not constitutional, but quite more dictatorship-like. Do away with the fascism. Vote against it. Speak against it. And stop listening to right-wing pundits who are just full of hate. If they're spewing out lies, if you have doubts, do a little research. Ask about it. Inquire about it. See if what they're really saying is true. And if they're not saying, and if it turns out to be false, call them out on it. Stop listening to them. Listen to the people that do matter. Focus on political leaders that do want to make change for the good, that want to uphold the Constitution and our democracy, that want to stand up to fascism. That's how you fight against it. You can deny it all you want, but it is real and it is out there, and it'll continue to flourish unless we stand up against it, band together. Do that, the voting, protest against it, let them know that we are still a democracy, that we still believe in the Constitution. Document that Donald Trump and DeSantis know very little about, or if they do, they don't care. I say, the hell with them. I really hope you understand, because it's important that you do. Not just, for the sake of the people of Florida and certain other states that are trying to adhere to fascist-like ways, but to the entire country as a whole, for our future and future generations, your children. I don't have kids or anything like that, but guess what? I don't want to see future generations be affected by fascist-like leaders in America, because I do care. Unlike Ron DeSantis, unlike Greg Abbott, and up to and especially Donald Trump, who only cares about himself. Vote against them, speak out against them. So, again, I hope you understand. Thank you for watching.